Hello, my name's Jade, and today I'm going to be tier ranking every book series I've ever read. So this is like all the series that I've finished. I do have some like loose companion-esque series in here. I think my rules are that if I'm up to date in a series, then I've counted it. Like there's a couple series on here that I think technically are yet to finish. But because I'm up to date and there's more than like 2 or 3 books, I've counted them. Okay, I've never done anything like this before, so I'm hoping it goes okay. I think I have 39 series to talk about, and it's so frustrating because I am less than an hour away from finishing another one. Okay, so this is my tier system. At the top we have God tier, which is God tier. We have really good. These are like our 4.5s out of 10 or 9s out of 10s. Like I really love them. They're just not God tier. That's the only fault they have. Under that we have Fun Times Were Had, which I feel like sounds sarcastic, but it's not. That like the amount of fun I had, how entertaining they were, how much I enjoyed them is the overarching emotion I came away from and came away with. Even. Are they technically the best? Maybe not. Do I think of them with really high regard? Maybe not. But I had a blast. Under that we have Fond Memories. These are for the books that I don't remember very well. I'm gonna try and put as few in this category as possible because I feel like it's a lot. Most of the series I read like back in the golden age of booktube. It's like the old YA classics. There's not too many adult or more recent series on this list. I had fun while reading them. I don't really remember them very well. If I were to read it today, do I think I'd love it? Maybe not. Under Fond Memories, we have not the best, not the worst. It kind of speaks for itself really. This is our middling, like, it's okay, it's fine. And then under that we have Honestly, I don't foresee many coming in this series because I've never read a series that I've never read any that like I really strongly disliked. The closest I guess I could come to that is like a DNF in a series, but I've not included that. So maybe I should have. Okay, so we're starting off with The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, which was my favourite series for the longest time. It's a sci-fi trilogy. It's about an alien invasion. It's all about what it means to be human. There's loads of riddles. The characters are really entertaining. The writing's really well done. I was on the edge of my seat for every book. The lowest rating I gave any of them was an 8 out of 10. I gave one of them a 9 out of 10, and then I gave the first one a 10 out of 10. So I'm gonna put it in really good I'm gonna put it in God tier. I feel like that's really bold to come right off the gate. We'll see. I feel like there should be a limit to how many I have. I feel like I can't have any more than like 10 in God tier. I just put a video as well of like my top 10 favourite series, and I don't remember any of the books I mentioned on that list, so this is the true test to see how like consistent I am in my opinions. I have a feeling this is gonna be not very. Up next we have Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. I loved Alexandra Bracken. I considered her one of my favourite authors for a very long time, and I really love this duology. It's like a treasure hunt through time. It's glorious. It's really beautifully written. I remember adoring the second book in particular. It was my favourite duology for a really long time. Like if my current favourite duology wasn't my favourite duology, then this probably still would be my favourite duology. I really want to reread it actually. It's also got pirates in it, and I love pirates. I'm gonna put that in really good. It's been a minute since I read it. I read the last book when I was like 18 and I'm 25 now, so quite a while ago. But I feel like it might live up. If I Stay by Gail Forman. This is like a companion duology. I read it mostly because the film was coming out in around the time. Gail Forman was very popular. I never read anything else by her because this didn't compel me to. I thought the first one was kind of fun. It was kind of okay. I think I gave it like a 7 out of 10, and then I had more problems with the second one. Maybe this is an If ever there were an that's kind of how I feel about it. I remember kind of enjoying it, but I also, like, if I were to reread it today, I really don't think it would live up. Does Twilight have to go into God tier? I feel like it just has to. I mean, the Twilight girlies would get it. Like, it's just a part of you, and it's never not gonna be a part of you. As cringy as it might be, as, like, much as you might be able to reread it now and be like, yeah, it's kind of dated. I've never actually reread them. I only read them once. Just the amount of love I had for it then feels like it's enough to make it God tier. I'm kind of having like the same thing with The Fifth Wave. I loved it so much it feels like it has to be God tier. It was such a huge part of me. But I feel like Twilight's an even bigger part of me because of like the movies and the phenomenon and the fandom, and I still think of all of that very fondly. So I'm gonna put it in God tier. I'm gonna put it below The Fifth Wave though. Then we have The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. I read this in 2020, so this one is a little bit more recent, even though it is technically one of like the golden age YA books. And I had so much fun with this trilogy. I loved how creepy it was. I loved the mystery. I loved how entertaining the characters were. I loved Noah Schul with a burning passion. I'm gonna put it in Fun Times Were Had. I feel like it can't go any higher than that. Didn't I put it on my top 10 series list? I think I might have. It can go into, but I'm trying to remember what I gave the books individually rating wise, and I can't remember. I wouldn't have given any of them higher than a 9. Okay, I'm gonna leave it really, really good for now. Maybe I just also like didn't really consider half of the book series I read when I made that video. Whoopsie. Like I said, I'm inconsistent with my opinions. It changes on a daily basis. My top remains my top, but the rest of it can like shuffle around a little bit. The Becoming of Noah Schul, we only have 2 books in that series, but I'm up to date. I don't know if we're ever going to get the last book, to be fair, so we're counting it. I enjoyed them. I don't feel like I loved them as much as I loved the Mara Dyer trilogy. Just didn't have the same feeling to it, but I did like what was happening. I was very invested in the story. I had a lot of similar feelings. I just don't think about it as much as I think about the original trilogy. So for that reason, it's going to go in Fun Times Were Had. Then we have Dark Side by Tom Becker, which is a children's series. It's 5 books. I read them when I was like a young teenager, I think. And it's about this like dark side of London, this secret side of London where they sent all the criminals and Jack the Ripper's family rule it, and there's like different kind of creatures and stuff there. And I remember it was really complex, and the way the story built was really interesting, and each book was really entertaining, and like characters died, and I cried my little heart out. I really loved this series, but I read it a really long time ago. It's a kids series. I probably wouldn't reread it again, but I really enjoyed it for what it was, so it's going to go in fond memories. And then we have the Miss Peregrine Song for Peculiar Children trilogy. Now, I'm only counting the original trilogy because I haven't read the extension trilogy, and in my mind, they can be kept separate. And to be fair, it might also be like a DNF case. I don't know if I'm ever actually going to continue. I did intend to when I finished the 3rd book. I think I read them in 2020. I just haven't cared to, and there's so many books that I want to read more. I don't see myself caring to anytime soon. I really struggled through the 1st book. The only way I made it through the second 2 was by listening to them via audiobooks. The narrator did a fantastic job. He did all these different accents and voices, and he made it so much funnier to me that I ended up actually kind of really enjoying the second 2. So I'm gonna put it in not the best, not the worst. Then we have the Illuminae Files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Ooh. I loved Illuminae, and I reread that 1st book again, and I really loved it that 2nd time. I really enjoyed Obsidio as well. I think Obsidio probably was as good as Illuminae. Not Obsidio. Gemina, the 2nd book. Obsidio, I think, is the worst of the 3, but it's still really fun. I love the idea behind this series. It's a sci-fi, like, space opera-esque style series, and it's written through like a series of documents and plans and surveillance footage transcribed and IM messages. But the stories are so epic feeling. Like, the movies would be incredible if they were turned into movies. I think I'm going to put this in really, really good. I think it's a really strong series. I'm going to put it above Passenger. That one's fresher in my mind than Passenger is. I feel more conviction towards Illuminae. Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I really thought I was going to love this trilogy. Like, it's so many people's personality, and there's so many things about it that line that up for me. It's about a heist. I love heists. And it's kind of about a bunch of criminals, and I really love the setting in this one, and I loved our characters so much. They're by far my favourite characters from the Grishaverse, I think. But there's just something about Grishaverse for me that's like good, but not great. Like, I've read literally every Grishaverse book that exists. I've read it, even like the spin-off ones, and I really love the world. There's just something about it. I don't know what it is. So I'm gonna put it in Fun Times Were Had. Yeah. I don't think it's above Noah Schul. I think they're pretty even. I feel like it's a very 8 out of 10 series for me. It's a solid 4 stars. My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. This is like a companion duology. The second book is called The Boy Most Likely To. It's like a rom-com contemporary type situation. The first book's about a teenage girl who has a really strict mum, and next door there's a really big family, a little bit rowdy, and her mum hates them, but then she meets the teenage boy, son of this family, and a little thing starts to happen. But there's more to it than that, and the family dynamic felt very, very real. We, like, this big rowdy family next door, you really grow attached to them. I adored this first book when I read it. Again, it probably would have been like 18 or so. I think I gave it like a 9 out of 10. I really loved it. The second book, I remember enjoying, maybe not as much, but I did really enjoy that one as well. But if I were to reread it again today, would I think the same thing? I really couldn't say. I'm torn between Fond Memories and Fun Times Were Had. It doesn't feel old enough for me to put it in Fond Memories, but I don't think it's Fun Times Were Had necessarily either. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just the very bottom of Fun Times Were Had. And then we have the Claudine series by Colette. There's 4 books total, although apparently there's like an unofficial 5th book that the publisher refused to publish as the final Claudine novel, but that's how Colette thought of it. Not read that one. So have I finished it? I don't know. But I do want to read that one. That's how much I enjoyed this series. I really didn't think I was going to like it that much. I read it mostly as like research for the book I'm writing, and it was when I was doing my master's, so it was recommended to me by a professor, so I kind of had to read it. And I read the whole series, partly because research, but partly because I did enjoy them. I did actually get kind of invested. They were pretty easy to read, they were pretty fun, they weren't the best thing I've ever read. So I'm gonna put this maybe actually, yeah, that feels right. Skullduggery Pleasant Resurrection. So this is phase 2 of the Skullduggery Pleasant series. I don't feel like I can put both of them in God tier, because it's technically like an extension of one overarching series. If I were to count both of them as one overarching series, then it would just be in God tier. That would be that. But I'm not. I'm thinking of them separately. But I do really, really love... Yeah, it has to go in God tier. I really love both of them. I prefer the first one to the second one. If I had to choose, I would choose the first one because of the nostalgia, but I did equally love, I feel like, for the most part, the second one. Like, I think because it's shorter and I didn't love the beginning as much, it feels a little bumpier to me, but the last 4 books were incredible. Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I loved this series. I thought it was so much fun. I loved the middle 2 books the best. I so vividly remember Shadowkiss. I've never had an experience like it. I was so distraught. I'm not going to say. I do remember his name. I'm not going to say it because spoilers, but if you've read it, you know. You know. I was distraught and I didn't even care about him that much, but because I cared about Rose. This was so much fun. They were so entertaining. I love vampires, and so I loved all of like the mythology around vampires was really entertaining. I'm remembering it more now. They were like training to become fighters, weren't they? They had like a Throne of Glass, Fourth Wing-esque feeling to it in that way. I never read the spin-off series, but I did adore this series. It was gonna go Fun Times Were Had, and it's gonna go at the top of Fun Times Were Had because this was a fun series. Oh, Anna and the French Kiss. This is a companion trilogy by Stephanie Perkins, and I feel very nostalgic actually whenever I think about this trilogy, like especially Anna and Lola, Isla and the Happily Ever After. It's kind of like an Illuminae situation. Like, it's good, it's just not the same as the first 2, and the first 2 were so good. I'm gonna put it at the very top of Fond Memories. I feel like if I were to read it today, I'd get kind of annoyed, I'd find it kind of slow, but I think there would be a level of nostalgia and fondness there. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So this is like a companion style, like hardcore companion style series. I wasn't sure whether to include it or not, and then I decided to because I kind of count it in my mind. It follows 4 books that all take place within the same universe, like the Taylor Jenkins Reid universe, but they're all very different and they can very much so be read as standalones. They're historical fiction. The first one's set in the 60s following a film star, the second one's in the 70s following a rock band, then we have the 80s following like a family dynamic, but most of them are surfers and they're very famous for being surfers. And then the last one we're following a tennis player in the 90s. So they've all got at least one like woman who is famous, and we're following her story more so than others. That's how I heard Taylor talk about it in an interview. We're looking at fame and how it affects them and their relationships and such. Oh, this is hard because I don't think I even considered this to be a series when I did my like top 10 favorite series. Okay, I'm putting this one in really, really good. Individually, they're impeccable. Daisy Jones and the Six is one of my absolute most favourite books. I also really adored Carrie Soto Is Back, and I think about it so often. I think Evelyn Hugo might be my least favourite of the series, even though that one's so popular. And it's really entertaining and it's really well done. I don't know what it is about it. And then Malibu Rising, I was really like invested in and attached when I read that one too. They're incredible books. So if to think about them as a series, it has to be really, really good. Then we have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. This is a fantasy trilogy, YA fantasy trilogy. I read a couple of years ago, marathon them all in the same month. And I actually had a lot of fun doing so. I think there definitely fun times were had, because that is definitely the overarching emotion that came from them. I ended up being really invested. I had a couple problems with the first one, and then I had a couple different problems with the second one, but I really enjoyed them both, and so I was really hoping that the third one might be able to bridge the two together and like balance out the things that I didn't like in both of them, and it didn't. It came with its own, like, it was just really rushed, the ending, and it felt like we had all this build up for naught. There is like at least a companion book, if not a companion series, and I actually would probably consider reading it, because there is something about Brigid Kemmerer's books. I have to say, I'm not like the fondest of YA fantasy nowadays for the most part, but there's just something so fun about her books. So I think it's gonna go in Fun Times Were Had. It's gonna go between Noah Shaw and Six of Crows. Six of Crows really doesn't feel like it should, like, Claudine, these aren't fun books. Maybe I need a new column. Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. The first book I gave a 9 out of 10. I adored House of Earth and Blood, and the second two just like didn't live up to me. Where we end in book one to like where we start, like there's not enough considering how slow and dense that middle book was. Everything like kicked off right at the end of Sky and Breath, and then that's it. It's just kind of, now we're in the end game and we're finishing this. I wanted more. I wanted more prep time. There was literally zero prep time. Everything was done like go, 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 go. So it's not my favourite Sarah J Maas series. I know it's not finished though, but I'm up to date with it. I've read more than 2 books. And thinking of it as a standalone trilogy, and it very much has that vibe. I know that the next book's not going to be about Bryce anymore, so it is a complete trilogy. It's not God tier. It's really, really good, and I'm going to put it... This is painful because I still really, really love this series. I just have problems with it. I'm just a little bit frustrated. I feel like I was done dirty. Next we have The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. Like I said, I adored Alexandra Bracken. This was another one of my favourite trilogies. Don't think of it as strongly as I think of, like, say, The Fifth Wave or even Vampire Academy. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's because I didn't love the last book as much, and I did really enjoy Never Fade, but I remember like still thinking it was nowhere near as good as The Darkest Minds. The Darkest Minds, the first book, really was like what I got so attached to. I love the story, I love the world, I love the characters, but I don't think about it very often nowadays, to be honest. So it's gonna go in fond memories. What do I think of fonder? The Darkest Minds. I think I kind of think of Anna and the French Kiss with more fondness. It's a really sweet series, that one. The Darkest Minds, I just kind of think of like, yeah, I really liked it then. You know, maybe if I reread it I'd felt differently. But that's where I'm putting it. Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor is God tier. It is my favourite duology. This is the reason why Passengers is no longer my favourite duology. Passenger now looks really low on this system to me, and I don't know how I feel about that. I love Laini Taylor. She is one of my favourite authors. This duology, the books are really good individually, but together it's so gorgeous and phenomenal, and I love the world, and I love the system, and it's got so much... This is the thing. Laini Taylor's books have so much heart and emotion to them. She's definitely a hopeless romantic. She's definitely full of hope, and it comes through in her writing. And her writing as well is beautiful. It's all very complex, and there are characters that you kind of root for and you kind of don't, and you don't. There's a lot of grey area, and we're really interrogating that grey area as well. This kind of right at the precipice of what these books are about, but in a very high fantasy setting that I just want to be taken away to. I love Strange the Dreamer. It's it's a gorgeous trilogy. It's very whimsical. If you want to read something whimsical, Strange the Dreamer. If you like mythology and like gods and that kind of stuff as well, Strange the Dreamer. Okay, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. Now this one's tricky. I think I gave the first one like a 7. The second and the third, they were either both 8s out of 10 or they were both 9s out of 10, and I forget which. My camera just overheated and I spent a little while fanning you, so I'm hoping you're nice and cool now. And I couldn't help myself. I changed it. It wasn't working. So we now have God tier, really, really good. We have good. I like these books. I'm just not like they're good. They're good. We still have Fun Times Were Had, and again, the point of this shelf, I suppose, is that they were really fun. I really enjoyed myself reading them. We have fun memories, and then we just have at the bottom. Because, like I said, not many books are going down to the bottom. A Court of Thorns and Roses. Right, that's where we were. Do I like it better than I like the Crescent City trilogy? I think it's hard. I think I don't, but I like the characters in the Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy better. I say this. What I mean is I love the Bat Boys. And it's skewing everything. I love Nesta and I love Mor as well. I never was obsessed with Feyre. Like, I liked her as a lead character. Like, between Aelin and Bryce, I would easily choose either of those over Feyre. But I kind of had the same problem, to be honest, with the Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy that I had with the Crescent City trilogy. I didn't think it was long enough. They both have really long middle books in which, like, a lot happens, but at the same time, they're very slow. I don't know. It's weird. I do love ACOMAF, to be fair. I'm trying to remember how much I loved ACOWAR. I remember being really frustrated because it's kind of the opposite of what happened in House of Flames and Shadow. They kept talking about how they needed to prepare and they had all this time to prepare, and then I feel like they didn't. I feel like they just squandered it, and then when more came they were unprepared. I think the payoff was a little bit better with ACOWAR. Like, I think things were like much too easy and tied up in much too nicer bow in Flame and Shadow. Oh, they really feel neck and neck, you know? I'm gonna put it just below for now. Next we have, it's called Fractured Fables, the duology by Alex E. Harrow. It's a novella duology, and it's kind of like a multiverse sci-fi fantasy spin on fairy tales. Our lead character is like her 17th birthday, her 21st birthday, and she has a party that's Sleeping Beauty inspired. She has an illness. What's the term? A terminal illness. She thinks of herself as something with Sleeping Beauty. She has this birthday party. She pricks her finger on the spindle and gets sucked into actual Sleeping Beauty. And it's a really fun duology. I really enjoyed the second installment. I definitely think more so than the first one, because I think the character dynamics were just more fun, and like, now that I knew the characters and I knew the world, I think it's gonna have to go in good, but it's high good. I did have fun. Maybe some fun times were had. Yeah, I think that's actually fit, because the biggest like emotion that comes to mind when I think of it, well, they were fun. There we go. The Legend trilogy by Marie Lu. I remember being really impressed with this trilogy. It felt very consistent to me. I'm pretty sure I gave every single book the exact same rating, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like they were like in and around an 8 out of 10. So they weren't like phenomenal by any means, but I was really impressed with them. I thought they were really well executed. They were very gripping and exciting. They kind of had that divergent feeling to them. It was a dystopian trilogy. Do I think about it ever? No. I really don't. It was I really liked it when I read it. I just never think about it now. So we're putting it at the bottom of fun memories. I feel like I think about Dark Side more than I think about Legend, honestly. Silver in the Wood and Drowned Country, something like that. This is a cozy fantasy duology. Again, they're both novellas. Again, I feel like I preferred the second one to the first one. It was a little bit longer, and it just, like, the story felt more fleshed out. I loved both of our protagonists, so we follow someone different in both of them, and they have very distinct narration styles. It's kind of like Celtic mythology feels like it was an inspiration. Like, there's a lot of fairies and kind of otherworldliness happening. It's also technically historical, and they are really sweet. They're really sweet. They're really fun. I'm gonna put it in... Feels like Fun Times Were Had should be above good, but I'm not changing this table anymore. Maybe I will. I'm gonna put it there. Legends and Lattes. This is a duology as of right now. I'm up to date with it. I don't know if we're going to get any more books in this series. It's a kind of a companion. Well, it's just that the second book is technically a prequel, so it's kind of a weird situation. I think I preferred the first one a little bit more than the second one, but I had a lot of fun with both of them. They were so stinking cute. I thought the first one was cozier and cuter, and I loved that element. I loved the whole, like, building the coffee shop element. The second one, it was also cute. I don't think it was as cute as that first one, though, and I thought that the fantasy element was stronger in it than I think the first one. I found it a little bit lacking. So they kind of balance each other out for me. I never wanted either of them to end. I wanted to spend forever there. I'm gonna put it at the top of Fun Times Were Had. It's like the definition of fun times. And now we're at the Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. This is my favourite Cassandra Clare series. I've only ever read the Mortal Instruments, though, other than this one. So I had very similar thing to... Which trilogy was it that I really struggled with the first book? Very similar thing. The Clockwork Angel, I found it really boring. I found it really hard to get through. And then I adored Prince and Princess. I think Prince might be my favourite. It's been a really long time since I read these ones, so it's hard to say. I don't know if I reread them, if they would live up. I honestly have no idea. I haven't read a Shadowhunter book since City of Heavenly Fire, so I really don't know. I've been like kind of toying with the idea, but I've also just never felt the urge strongly enough. But I was obsessed with this love triangle and the characters, and I did really, really enjoy the Shadowhunter world. I loved how it had like such a collection of different like creatures and like the systems that they had in place, the way it was governed. It was all really interesting stuff, and the rules was fascinating, and it was full of riddles and mystery, and I think they were pretty well written. I think the writing style was the biggest thing that held me back. I didn't love it. It felt very dense to me. I'm gonna put it in really, really good. I'm gonna put it at the end though. I honestly couldn't tell you, if I were to like reread them both, which one I think I would like better between Passenger and The Infernal Devices. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm gonna leave it like that for now. I was feeling bad for Passenger. We needed to give it a win. Then we have The Assassin's Curse duology by Cassandra Rose Clark. This is the definition of a fun trilogy. It's about pirates and magic. Our lead character, Inanna, is a pirate. She's been stuck with an assassin who was tasked with killing her, I think, but they've been cursed so that he can't, and he's like literally stuck to her. They can't really be apart properly, I don't think, and it's so much fun. The world in this one was really interesting. It had like, again, that mythological kind of almost like exotic feeling to it, I suppose. It reminded me a lot of the world from Pirates of the Caribbean in terms of the mythology. I read it again a really long time ago, but I think about it very, very, very fondly and very often. I know she wrote another duology, Magic of Winds and Mist, The Wizard's Promise and the Noble's Revenge. This is like the tie-up edition. This technically now has a tie-in edition as well, Magic of Blood and Sea it's called. I haven't read it yet, but I've held onto it all these years because I really want to. That's how much fun I had with this duology. Technically speaking, is it the best? No. The writing isn't the strongest. It has to be in Fun Times Were Had. I think I'm going to put it quite high in Fun Times because it was so much fun. It's between here. I'm gonna put it there. I think of that one more fondly, I think, than I think of A Curse So Dark and Lonely. What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, another novella duology. Wow, there's a lot of them. And all of these novella duologies I've read pretty recently as well. This one's a horror duology. The first one is a retelling of the Fall of the House of Usher. I think I preferred the story of the first one more. It felt stronger to me. Maybe because I read the second one more recently though, like there is something about it standing out to me. It was fun. I can't remember which one was funnier, but they do have this fun, witty feeling to them. The main character, Easton, is hilarious. That's really like what I read these for. So I'm gonna put them in Fun Times Were Had. I feel like they're on the lower end. I feel pretty similarly to this one to how I feel about Spindle Splintered. I think I found this one funnier, but I enjoyed the story. I think a Spindle Splinter, I think a Spindle Splinter is just a little bit stronger for me. Back to God Tier we go. Skullduggery Pleasant Phase 1. We've already talked about this. We don't need to talk about it anymore. King of Scars, the Nikolai duology, back to the Grishaverse. Is Grisha on here? Shadow and Bone? Okay, I don't know what happened there. Why Shadow and Bone wasn't on here. That's embarrassing. I think the Nikolai duology might actually be my favourite of the Grishaverse. Maybe because it's about Nikolai. I also really love Nina. I can't remember the other girl's name that's in it. I really hated her, but then she really came around. She was very much had like a Nesta arc, I feel like. So I'm gonna put it in good, but I'm gonna put it above. I think this one, it felt more epic. I'm really, the forefront thing that's coming to mind is Nina's storyline, which I really loved. And then we have the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Clark. I think this has to go in God Tier. We're gonna put it above Twilight because I think it's technically probably better well done. Yeah, it's a modern classic. What more is there to say? It's fantastic. We have the Saga of Larton Crepsley, which is a spin-off series of the Saga of Darren Shan, which we have coming up. I didn't love this as much as I love the Saga of Darren Shan. The Saga of Darren Shan was one of my absolute favorite series as a kid. It is the series that like definitively got me into reading. I read like some Jacqueline Wilson before this, but I wasn't as reading hungry until I read this series, and then that's what like kickstarted me to reading other books by Darren Shan, and then from there I found Skullduggery, which we know how I feel about Skullduggery by now. I thought it was really interesting getting to know the backstory. I probably enjoyed it, but honestly, I don't really ever think about it. So it's either like the very top of Air or the very end of Fond Memories. I'm gonna put it there for now because I feel like I did like it way back in the day. Then we have the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor, which is God tier. I think I like it more than Stranger Dreamer. It's hard to say because I read Smoke and Bone longer ago. I really want to reread that trilogy. But from the bits I remember, I feel very strongly about. I loved the characters. Again, it had a lot of similarities to Stranger Dreamer. It's slightly less on the romantic side. Stranger Dreamer like has a very romantic feeling to it in general. Smoke and Bone feels more mysterious and edgy, and the stakes feel a little bit higher, maybe because it's a trilogy, maybe because we're talking about more worlds, maybe because I read it longer ago, maybe because the last book is like 1 billion pages long, who knows. Days of Blood and Starlight, the middle book, was phenomenal. I still kind of consider it as one of my favourite books. It's on my favourite shelf on Goodreads, just for the nostalgia if nothing else. But again, the lowest I gave any of them was the last book, which I gave an 8 out of 10. And to be fair, I put it down for like 6 months halfway through. And I like by that time I barely remembered what happened in Smoke and Bone and Blood and Starlight. And it is one of those where like the little things add up over time. I love series like that. The Saga of Darren Shan, we just talked about that. So I'm gonna put it in Fond Memories. I feel like I might put it in the top of Fond Memories again for the nostalgia, for what it did for me in my reading life. Divergent by Veronica Roth. I adored Divergent, the first book. I thought it was incredible. I also adored Insurgent, the second book. I thought it was also incredible. I really did not like Legion. I thought it was really bad, and I rarely think a book is bad. I was also spoiled for it, and so I also there was that to contend with. If I were to reread it, I feel like this would be one of the stronger ones. Of the dystopian trilogies, this is one of the better ones, I think. It's just the Legend pulling it down. I mean, Legend was good as well, though. Legend was classy. I don't think it's in Fun Times Were Had. It's whether it's in Fond Memories or whether it's good, whether I actively still think I would like it today. I'm gonna put it at the very bottom of good. Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. Again, I only read the original trilogy. I never read the follow-up. I was really tempted to because of how much fun I had while reading the original trilogy. It read to me like a guilty pleasure read. Like I knew it, I definitely had the feeling like it wasn't the best thing ever, but I had so much fun and I was so addicted to them while I was reading them, and there was something very salacious about it and feeling. So it's definitely Fun Times Were Had, but I feel like it's on the lower end. I'm gonna put it about there-ish. Maybe even lower because it was been a while. Maybe it needs to go in Fond Memories. If I were to reread it today, do I think I would like it better than those? I don't know, maybe. Judging by how much I loved The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it there. It was fun. Glass by Sarah J Maas. It's my favourite Sarah J Maas series, and I love Sarah J Maas. We're gonna put it at the top of God tier. Is it? Well, okay, you know what? I put it as my favourite series in that favourite series video. It was Throne of Glass, then Skullduggery, then Skullduggery Phase 2. So we're gonna let Skullduggery have this one because, to be honest, they're neck and neck. I feel like Skullduggery has more longevity because it's been in my life so much longer. It feels like that ultimate, it's always gonna be my one of my absolute favourite series because of the longevity it's had in my life. Whereas Throne of Glass, I can kind of see a day where I don't love it as intensely as I do right now. It's possible, but I do really love Throne of Glass, and I probably think about it more than I think about Skullduggery realistically. I probably think about all of Sarah's books more. Sarah's books are without a shadow of doubt the books that I think about the most. It's very interesting that I just put up a video called my top 10 favourite series, and there's not 10 in God tier. DNA Duo, in the first one we follow Jessica, and Jessica has a best friend named Fizzy, and in the True Love Experiment we follow Fizzy. I think I preferred the True Love Experiment to the Soulmate Equation. Both of them are upper end Christina Lauren's for me, but neither of them are top tier Christina Lauren. I think it has to be in Fun Times Were Had because, again, that's the overwhelming emotion for all of Christina Lauren books, how fun and sweet they are. I'm just where in there does it go? It's really hard to compare it to all of these YA fantasy series. I think they're around It's hard because I read this so much more recently than I've read Vampire Academy and Assassin's Curse and Curse Too Dark and Lonely. Yeah, I think I have just too many like memories as a whole for Vampire Academy. The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. This is gonna go in good, but it's gonna go in the upper end of good. Do I like it more? Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. It's really hard to say because I read Grishaverse comparatively so much more recently than the Mortal Instruments. I'm trying to think about which one I feel more strongly towards, but I don't feel particularly stronger towards either of them is the problem. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it there because it's a longer series, and typically I prefer a longer series, so therefore I'm gonna conclude that it was more well fleshed out. But King of Scars, you know what, no. I'm gonna hedge my bets and put that above it. It's a classic series. The third book and the last book were my favourites. I really didn't like City of Bones, nor did I like City of Ash very much. City of Fallen Angels and City of Lost Souls, by that point I was so invested that like I did enjoy them, but they don't stand out in my mind per se. There was a really great moment at the end of Lost Souls, and to be honest, that's all I can remember. I can't really remember much more than that. So maybe King of Scars should go above. And then we have Shadow and Bone, which for some reason was not on my list. So I think I've got like 40 books on this thing total now. Series even, total. Yeah, that's tricky. I preferred the characters so much more in Six of Crows. I cannot emphasize that enough. I think it's a really fun premise, but there was something about the Six of Crows duology that left me a little bit disappointed. Okay, I'm leaving it there because I care about the characters of Six of Crows enough to leave it there, whereas I don't feel strong enough about Shadow. Honestly, they're neck and neck. So this is just how it is. I've also rearranged the table because I couldn't help myself. Fun Times Were Had is now above good because I think of those books with more emotion and conviction than I think about the book. Like, they're good, whereas like the Fun Times Were Had, they were so much fun and I feel that passionately. And I really don't know what's going on with God Tier. Why so many? I feel like these could easily slip into it. I'm wondering if the fifth wave maybe could go at the bottom because of how little I remember it. I also kind of feel like the Hunger Games should become below Twilight now that I think about it. Maybe it's this. Yeah, I feel good about that. But that is my ranking. I would love to hear what your ultimate like God Tier series are in the comments below. If there's any recommendations you have, I would love to hear them based off of what I like. It's really annoying that this trilogy can't go in this thing. It's the, what's it called? The Defy the Night trilogy by Bridget Kemmerer. It'd probably go in Fun Times Were Had. It'd probably go lowish end if I had to hedge a guess. I think it would go actually just below Silver in the Wood and Shatter Me. I think it would go in there maybe. I don't know. I really don't remember Shatter Me well enough. Maybe it should be in Fond Memories. Alas, I'm not changing it anymore. That is all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Shade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye.